So at this time, it's with great pleasure to introduce and welcome to Woodhaven our guest tonight, New York City Police Commissioner James O'Neill.
Seats here.
Wow, right into it, huh?
We follow directions well.
There you go? Okay, I need more of you. First of all, it's a pleasure to be here tonight. We spent a couple days in Queens. I was out with the mayor yesterday. We did a press conference out in 105. We're at the 105 satellite. We talked about splitting the 105 in half. They're going to build a new precinct in 116 in the southern half of 105. I want to tell you a little bit about, not too much about myself, and I want to talk about how we're doing in the city. And I want to leave plenty of time for questions, and hopefully I'll have some good answers for you too. So I've been a cop now for almost 35 years. Actually, I'm not a cop anymore. I'm actually a civilian in this job. So I really do miss wearing my uniform. I wore my uniform proudly for 34 years. I started out as a transit cop way back in 1983. I think that's where I really learned about what it means to be a police officer and how important it is to have police in this great city. When you first got out of the academy way back then, they assigned us to train patrol runs. So what you had to do was you had to ride the train from 168th and Broadway in Manhattan to J Street in Brooklyn. And you had to do that round trip about 3 times. You worked from 8 at night to 4 in the morning, and I think there's some people sitting in this room now or standing in the room that might have been in the city back in 1983. It was a different place back then. But it was a good way to learn how to be a cop, to learn how to talk to people, to learn how to communicate. And I think that's the essence of what we do. And that's what we're trying to do with all of our police officers now, is to make sure that we give them the opportunity to go out and talk to the people they're sworn to protect and serve. So after I left the transit police, we all merged, the 3 police departments merged back in 1995, housing, transit, and NYPD. I came over to the NYPD and I worked in the warrant squad for a couple of years. That was interesting work. We got to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and go out and start knocking on doors at 5 o'clock in the morning. That was a great way to get bad guys. It was an awesome experience. And I was lucky enough to pass the captain's test, and then I became a precinct commander for 6.5 years. I think that, along with my experience as a transit cop, really helped me understand how important it is to have an effective police department in this great city. I worked in the Central Park precinct for a couple of years. Believe it or not, we had a full-blown precinct in Central Park to cover that 843 acres. I had about 130 cops. Then I went up to the 2-5 in East Harlem. I was there for about 2 years. I was there for, reminds me of the good old days. Not always good though, right? Gotta get some sleep. So I was in the 2-5 during 9/11, and that was an experience. And then I think I probably had the best experience after the 2-5. The department sent me up to the 44th precinct in the South Bronx. I don't know if probably not. Are there any Yankee fans here?
Woo!
Yeah, okay. I think mostly Met fans, right?
Let's keep it respectful.
Right. I'm a New York Ranger fan, so I'm big time. But I went to the 44th precinct, and it's if you ever been to Yankee Stadium, it's the area right around Yankee Stadium, and it's got a lot of challenges. It still does. Certainly not as violent as it used to be, but when I was up there, it was 1.9 square miles, about 150,000 people living in that 1.9 square miles, and I had about 300 cops. And for me, I think that was really what when I really started to understand what it meant to be a leader in this great police department. I had these cops were just fantastic. Most of the time, you didn't even have to direct them what to do. But I think that experience as a precinct commander really created, I became well-rounded. I understood that it wasn't just about the cops, it wasn't just about the bosses, it wasn't just about the borough chief or downtown. So much of it has to do with what the community wants. And back then, I started to formulate in my head a plan to get the cops out there actually doing the work, the sector cops out there doing the work, not the precinct commander, not the community affairs officers, who do a great job, but it has to be everybody in the police department making that connection to the community. I know you're not a neighborhood policing command yet. You will be shortly. I have to talk to Chief Monahan, he's the chief of patrol, to see when that happens. But in 43 out of the 77 precincts now, we're up and running with neighborhood policing. And what that is, we have the same cops assigned to the same sectors every day. The sectors are a little bit bigger, but we're giving our cops the opportunity to go out there and meet the people they sworn to protect and serve. The biggest part about that plan is there's two things. The biggest thing, I think, for me, is that we're giving a third of their day where they're not answering 911 calls. I don't know if you know this, but in a busy place, and I don't know how many they do in the 102, but in a busy precinct, they probably do just as many here. You can have one radio car, two cops answering 20 to 25 911 jobs in an 8.5-hour period. So where in that model of policing do those two cops have the opportunity to talk or meet anybody, or meet anybody? So in neighborhood policing, they'll have a third of their day where they're not doing that. They'll have the opportunity to go to tenant association meetings, community meetings like this. And there's also a lot of work to be done too. They have to do traffic, they still have to do quality of life work. And quality of life is, you hear that a lot, and you hear that a lot in the city. And I know, and the inspector will back me up on this, as a precinct commander, if you did not concentrate on quality of life conditions in your precinct, you aren't going to be a precinct commander very long. You really have to pay attention to it. Because any community meeting that I had, even in the 2-5, even in the 4-4, we had some violence up there, we had homicides, we had shootings. Any precinct meeting I went to, people were concerned about quality of life. It's so important for people to feel safe. And I think that's, don't ever think the NYPD backed away from that, and we're not. There's been a couple of changes over the last few years. We went from criminal court summonses to civil summonses, make it a little bit easier for people to pay the fines when they're caught drinking or caught urinating or doing whatever they're doing, where we can give them a summons. And I think that's a fair way to do business. And because criminal court summonses, if you don't go to criminal court and pay the summons or answer to the summons, you end up getting a warrant. So you can have a warrant for a summons hanging over your head for years and years and years. And if you get pulled over, then unfortunately somebody runs your name, you're going to end up spending a night or two in jail. I'm not sure maybe if that's the most fair thing we can do with our police officers. So then we have the option of giving civil summonses, and we just started that on June 13th. How old's the baby?
11 months.
11 months. It goes by so fast. Not on a daily basis. On a daily, each day seems like it's 50 hours. My guys are 28 and 24, and it seems like it was just yesterday. So traditional crime, the city's in good shape. In 2016, we had 335 homicides, as opposed to in 1990 when we had 2,200. We had just under 1,000 shootings in 2016. In 1990, we had 5,000 shootings. And then crime was reduced by another 4.5%. And to put that into perspective, I know whenever we talk about crime being up or down, it's those 7 major crimes. It's murder, rape, robbery, felony assault, burglary, grand larceny, auto. So whenever you hear anybody in the city talk about crime being up or down, that's what they're talking about. Last year we had a little over, in the city, 100,000 index crimes, that's what they call them. And in 1990 there were about over 500,000 index crimes. So crime is constantly being reduced. We are locking up less people. We are giving less criminal court summonses. We're giving less summonses. The only thing we're giving more of, you're probably not going to be happy to hear this, is we're doing more moving violations. And I think that's what we need to do to keep reducing the number of traffic deaths. We're down just about 20 traffic fatalities this year so far, and last year we ended up about 225, which was down from the previous year. And it's important that we talk about that, and it's important that we track all these numbers, because we had 225 traffic fatalities, 335 homicides, but in addition to that, we had over just almost 1,400 opioid, not all opioid, we had 1,400 fatal overdoses in the city last year. So opioid Addiction is a huge problem for the city, and we're working not just with the police department. This is not just a police department problem. This is a societal problem. So we're working with the DOH and the mayor's office. We hired 80 more police officers, so we could put 80 more people into the detective bureau. And in each and every borough now, we have a team that investigates overdoses, whether they're fatal or non-fatal. This way we can backtrack and figure out where the people who OD'd got the narcotics, and we can make arrests as necessary. And we also attack that from the big end too. We have federal task forces, the Drug Enforcement Task Force. We put additional people in that, and they're the people that take care of the international regional rings and the people that bring large amounts of narcotics into the city. And they do a tremendous job each and every day. So neighborhood policing is our way forward. The way we're really reducing violence is that we have our detectives under Chief Bob Boyce. I'm sure you've seen Chief Boyce on TV. He's almost on TV each and every day talking about the help we need from the community to catch people that we identified. We're targeting the gangs and crews. And last year we had about 100 gang and crew takedowns, resulting in the arrest of about 1,000 really bad people. It's a very small percentage of the population that's committing the crime and violence in the city, and that's where we're trying to focus all of our resources. Bob Boyce is doing a tremendous job. We gave him, dissolved the Organized Crime Control Bureau. We put all those detectives under Chief Boyce. Those were narcotics, gang, vice, organized crime people. They all work with Chief Vice, Chief Boyce, so we all have a common mission now. So I think on the traditional crime end, we're never going to stop trying to push crime down, but I think we're in a reasonably good place, and I know the inspector's doing a good job in the 102. The one thing that I think that really keeps me up at night is probably what keeps everybody in this room up at night too, and that's the threat of terrorism. But we've done a lot over the last, since Commissioner Kelly in 2001, right after 9/11, he created a counterterrorism and an intelligence bureau that they continue to be second to none. And over the last 3 years, we've built on that. We have a real good capacity to investigate and prevent, and God forbid if something does happen, to respond. Commissioner Bratton when he came in, he did the re-engineering for the police department. He created a couple of new groups, the Strategic Response Group. That's a group of about 700 to 800 police officers. You probably see them around. They're in marked RMPs. They'll say SRG on the side of the car, and their responsibility is threefold. We send them to hotspots when there's crime. We send them out on mobilizations, and also if there is an event, they have the ability to respond. And most of them have long guns, which are rifles in the car. And it's kind of sad to have to stand up here and say that in New York City, that we had to increase the number of police officers that have access to M4s, the long guns, the rifles. But we have to pay attention to what's going on, not just in this city. We have to pay attention to what's going on in the nation and in the world also. I don't know if you went to the New Year's Eve celebration. I don't know if you went to Manhattan to see the Thanksgiving Day parade. But if you did, you probably saw that whole event was ringed by sanitation trucks. We had them blocking off every street. And that's because of what happened in Nice, France, with the truck that got on the route of that celebration. So we have to pay attention to everything that's going on. And unfortunately, at all these events, we have to have long gun teams out there too. So just know that we are continuing to evolve. We are continuing to do our best to get better. And the only way we're going to do that is working in conjunction with the people of this great city, the 8.6 million people that live here. And I couldn't be prouder of the position that I have. Not in my wildest imagination did I ever think that I'd rise to this level, starting out as a transit cop. And I certainly didn't get here by myself. I worked with some tremendous people throughout my career. I've learned from a lot of people, and I work with some tremendous people now. So I'm glad you guys invited me here tonight. Believe it or not, I've worked in every borough except Staten Island. I actually did work in Queens. It was only 7 weeks. I was the chief of detectives in Queens for 7 weeks in January and February of 2014. But in those 7 weeks, and I stay in contact with so many of them now, the detectives there, they are so committed to what they do. We're lucky to have so many great people in this police department that took this job for the right reason. Unfortunately, in police work, there is a lot of tragedy. There is a lot of sacrifice. And on July 5th, we lost one of our police officers, now Detective Minnesota's Familia. I had the opportunity to eulogize her at the funeral. And what I said is from my heart. Cops take this job for the right reason. And I know there's a lot of things that go wrong throughout the country, and I know we have our issues in New York City. But I just ask that you never broad brush the police department. So many people, all the 36,000 uniforms and the 16,000 civilians, they are here to make life better for everybody, and we're far from perfect. We're a reflection of society. So just as you go through your day, you see a police officer out there, it means a lot to them if you just say hello. And we have a responsibility to do that first. Anytime I get the opportunity, and I speak to every class that graduates from the academy, go out there and smile, say hello, and you would not believe what a difference that makes. People want to feel safe, and it's good that we're keeping people safe, but I think sometimes it's way more important for people to feel safe. And you feel safe by having a connection to the police department. So that's what's going on in New York City. It's a lot of good stuff. We're able to also increase our head count. At the beginning of the mayor's term, we were at 34,000, working with the city council and with the mayor. We were able to hire almost an additional 2,000 police officers, put 2,000 police officers back on patrol. So we're up to about 36,000 right now. And again, in 2001, we were about 41,000, so we're working our way back up. And it's important that we have those police officers out there. So you see, I don't think there's nothing that makes anyone feel better when they're feeling a little uneasy if they see a marked car, or if they see a uniform out there. They know we're here for the right reason.